Hello you lovely lot and welcome to my channel. I'm Katie and we are gonna unbox, have a little swatch and create with the December scrawlrbox. I know it's a little late posting this, but it was Christmas Day yesterday and obviously it's the holiday seasons and all of the chaos that brings. This month's featured artist is Yeep Fong Ray and I do hope I've correctly pronounced that. I do quite like the print though, I like the linear design, and paired with that pad of black paper we have there, it looks like we are going to have some form of paint marker. And I am right, we have the Spectrum Noir metallic paint markers. We've also had a Werther's Original Candy in there, and I don't mind that, that went down, not a problem at all. We also have a Posca pen, a Jelly Roll pen in Moonlight and a 2B Derwent pencil, and we'll swatch those in just a moment. Now of course, yes, we are in the holiday season right now and this box does feel a little bit in keeping with that. Obviously there is no holiday theme, but I think the use of the metallic markers, I don't know, just gives me those vibes, right? We have also, of course, the Scrawler Zine, and that gives you handy hints and tips on how to use your materials, as well as providing pictures of previous winners and a few other little bits of trivia here and there. Oh, and of course, how could I forget, it also covers the Artist of the Month who's provided the print as well, so a bit more of an insight there. We also got our prompt, and this month's prompt is Out of the Darkness. Anyway, let's get swatching, shall we? So we have a jelly roll in a size 10 and the colour name is Moonlight, and it shows up really nicely on that paper, unlike the Derwent 2B pencil, where there is just enough of a hint of it to be seen if you tilt the paper at a certain angle, but then aside from that, it's not massively visible, which of course is good for sketching your idea out. We also have a Posca pen, nib size being a 3M, and obviously it's in black, and yes, it doesn't show up on the paper, but there is a use and a purpose, and we will get to that in the video. And we also have these delicious Spectrum Noir metallic paint markers, and we have them in a, it's not quite a chisel tip, it's a flat tip, we're going to say. We have it in a bullet nib and in a fine point, and obviously the gold is the flat nib, the bronze is the bullet nib, and the silver is the fine nib. And I was super wowed by how well these stood out on that paper. They are an oil based marker, so they're not like the Poscas where they're an acrylic based, but I was like, wow, these really stand out. I was so amazed by how opaque these were and how bold they were. I was really impressed, and they were just perfect for adding all of these highlights, because that is what today's piece is mostly going to be. So I thought I would do a profile of a female face, and that silver pen was great for adding the highlights of, I guess, where the light's going to hit first, or at least brightest, by adding a bit of an outline across the bridge of her nose, extending into her forehead, as well as a little bit beneath the eyes and as well the waterline. And let's not forget the bottom lip. I always find when you draw lips, especially when you're colouring them in, your top lip tends to be a little bit darker because obviously it's casting a shadow because of the direction it sits, I guess, and the bottom lip tends to take the light. So if you're drawing lips, which can be quite difficult, that's a good pointer to take whilst you're colouring it in. I'm waffling, aren't I? But you know, I'm going to offer you some hints here and there. Now, I thought I'd best mention that I didn't bother putting the sketching part into the video for two reasons really. Number one, for me to do it and film it meant I couldn't see what I was doing very well without having to move the paper around, or I'd move the paper around to how I could see and the camera just wouldn't really pick up on it, so there wasn't really much benefit of showing you there, but you can see where I have lined everything out so you get a rough idea of the thought process there. Now to add the next stage of highlights in, and tonally I thought that gold was in the middle. You've got the silver being the lightest and the bronze being the darkest there, so it just made sense to add that next layer of highlights, which would be additional areas on her forehead as well as her cheek and the rest of her nose. I also included this on her hair strands as well and just started filling in areas. Now I was selective about where I did everything, especially because I wanted to make it look cohesive, but on the other hand I wasn't worried too much about making any little mistakes, perhaps just where my control wasn't where it should be, because that can easily be rectified with the Posca pen. I did find that the nibs on the Spectrum Noir were a little bit on the hard side, at least the fibre based ones. The fine one was great, but the fibre based one I think just needs to be a bit robust because the oil in the ink itself can tend to eat away at most plastic based things, so there is that. But once I had got it going, so to speak, it was a lot better to work with, and again that vibrancy was amazing. Sometimes it did streak just a tiny little bit, and that was easily rectified by just waiting for that layer to dry and then going over it with another one. Now I'd got the majority of those colours down, it was time to start fine-tuning things, and I thought I needed to bring that hairline just a little bit further forwards, as well as adding a few more strands of loose hair that I think would catch the light. It's very bizarre looking at this though, because with it all being metallic, she actually looks a little bit like a humanoid robot, maybe? Kind of reminds me of a book cover for maybe a science fiction novel or something. I don't know, I quite liked it though, I quite liked working in this style. It felt detailed and minimalist at the same time. I also really liked how these colours layered on top of each other, so perhaps where some areas had been streaky and I used the same colour to fill it in a bit more, when it came to just extending some of those details, for example what's going on screen right now, that gold just stood its own over the top of the layer of the bronze. There was no interference from colours beneath, and I liked that. And I know with multiple layers you can achieve that with acrylic based markers and as well other oil based markers too, but I do find that some brands takes a lot of layers, and sometimes there's also a possibility of reactivating that layer beneath. Not with these. I was super impressed. Now in my opinion this is where we justify having a black marker for black paper. Obviously we had 3 different nib sizes and types, and I could not get lines this fine for her hair. So instead we work the other way around and we add those lines in rather than excluding them on the initial drawing. And I absolutely loved how this worked out. It really added a flow and direction to the hair and just added a little bit of interest and somewhere to guide the eye. I quite like the contrast of all of this detailed hair as well, and then there just being an incredibly plain face there. I don't know, there's just a nice balance there in my opinion anyway. Now I know it's upside down on your screens right now, but I do advise when you're drawing hair, don't always keep your piece of paper still. I only mostly do that for you guys so it makes a better experience for you watching. But sometimes I do like to add in when I've turned the page, because I believe that's part of the process too, and you shouldn't be afraid to manoeuvre your surface if you can, that is. I mean, I don't know, if you're working to something that's been nailed to the wall, that might be a little bit more difficult, but if you're working on paper or on a canvas and you need to do a certain stroke or gesture with whatever medium you're using, make sure you have your canvas the way that it's going to be most comfortable to do that, and then you'll have more natural lines and strokes. Anyway, that's top tip of the day done. For the background, I thought I would add a bit of a starburst, we'll say, and I just loved how satisfying it was doing all of these dots. I thought I'm going to have to zoom in and show you guys. It was chef's kiss good. I continued that out, so we had a bit of a background. Part of me regrets doing this. I actually quite liked it as it was, but I also wanted to perhaps add a light source in there, as it kind of just ties in with the prompt. So what did you guys think of this month's scrawlrbox? Did you enjoy it? Are you still figuring out what to do with it? Have you had time to do anything with it yet? And also, my lovely arty friends out there, did you have any nice arty gifts for Christmas? And are you perhaps a little bit stumped with them, or are you ready to take on the challenge? Let me know, and if there are any materials you've had and you're like, oh, what the heck do I do with this? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see if I can feature a video where I'm using their materials and I'll give you an objective view on how I would use them, because we're all here to help each other out, right? Anyway, I thought I would add some more bronze again, just to diffuse this light a little bit. It was quite nice doing that, but I think the foreground and the background don't quite go. But hey, you know what? I just wanted to demonstrate what else I could do with these. I only used the jelly roll for the character's eye. I kind of wanted to keep as much of it metallic as possible. So there we have it. I really like how this piece turned out. I love the supplies we had this month. I think I'll get some more use out of them too, especially that paper. I love how the light catches on this as well. It's pretty vibrant anyway, but when the light shines on it, it looks awesome. I'm really pleased with that. Of course, let me know what you guys think down below. It is always appreciated. I hope you've all had a happy holidays too. I can't believe in less than a week now, it's going to be 2022. What's that all about? Anyway, there should be some more videos on screen now I think you'll enjoy. Of course, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you lovely lot very soon. Bye!